So the 49ers barely escape the Green Bay Packers at home. The main takeaway from this game is the play of Brock Purdy. Is he overrated? Is he a good quarterback? Is he a fraud? Is he a system quarterback? I think all of those answers are true about Brock Purdy. I mean, he was in the MVP conversation until they played the Ravens on Christmas, and he threw like three picks. It was an abysmal performance, and that kind of killed all MVP talk from Brock. But before that point, he was having a pretty good year for the most part, at least from the eye test perspective. But the entirety of Brock Purdy's career as the 49ers starting quarterback, he's had some naysayers, rightfully so. As a whole, my opinion on Purdy is I don't know I don't know how to feel about him exactly. I think he's definitely a good NFL quarterback. I love his composure. I love his instincts. I love how he's cool and calm in the pocket. But I feel like he has had some moments this year that have been pretty questionable. I don't know if anybody remembers the Vikings game on Monday night, obviously the Ravens game, and this past game against the Packers is kind of some blemishes on his resume for this year. His weaknesses are, I'd say his accuracy sometimes can be quite erratic. His size has always concerned me, especially after the Eagles NFC Championship game where he infamously blew out his elbow. I do like his running ability. Even that can be quite scary just because of his size. I know the NFL is really soft nowadays, but still. Let's just focus on this last game against the Packers. I mean, he should have had two interceptions easily. His accuracy was in question. I know he had that glove and then he took it off and he was wiping his hand in the middle of a play, which was pretty entertaining. So overall, he didn't really have the best game, and in fact, it was one of the reasons why the 49ers looked so bad against the Packers. I think if I were John Lynch, the next two games would determine the future for Brock Purdy on the 49ers. Because if he comes out and he has a terrible game against the Lions, I would seriously consider trying to get Kirk Cousins. I know Kirk Cousins is the hot name, it's the obvious name right now, but him and Kyle Shanahan have a long, long history. So, and I just think that's an immediate upgrade. But regardless, the next two games for Purdy are going to be really, really interesting. If he gets it done, wins a chip, obviously you keep the guy. Even if you think he's a system quarterback, you just keep him for another year or two. That's just the way things work. But let's say they make it to the Super Bowl and they play against the Ravens, hypothetically, and it's an ugly showing. I think John Lynch and company would have to have a few tough conversations in the offseason, because you could call it what you want, but the 49ers flat out got really lucky. I know you can talk about the Jordan Love pick at the end of the game, but I mean, they were outplayed for the majority of that game. They're really lucky they're not home right now like the Dallas Cowboys. So, but I think this topic is so interesting because if Purdy was on a different squad, I think the answer to this question would be a lot more obvious. I mean, we all know what the 49ers have: an elite O-line, McCaffrey, Debo, Ayuk, Kittle. List goes on and on. So you take away those guys and you put them on a team like, I don't know, put them on a team like the Broncos or the Bears. Do you think Purdy would look good week in and week out? I don't think so. I don't think he has the ability to elevate the play of the guys around him. I just don't think I don't think he's there yet. And I think this question is I think this question will always surround him because of what happened with Jimmy G. Everyone loved Jimmy G until he overthrew Emmanuel Sanders in the Super Bowl. And that was pretty much it for the love affair of Jimmy G and the majority of the NFL media and fans. It was pretty crazy back then. I don't know if anyone remembers, but there were some talks about Jimmy G being an elite quarterback back then. I know it was a long time ago, but it was real. And then after that moment, everything came into question. Because really, it's Kyle Shanahan's offense. Kyle Shanahan has always had an elite run game, and look what happened to Jimmy G when he went to a competent squad on the Raiders. Like, you have Adams, you have Jacoby Myers, you have a run game with Josh Jacobs. And look what happened. He got benched like 5 games into the year. I just think being a quarterback for the Niners is like the most ideal spot to play in the NFL right now if you're a quarterback. I mean, that's obvious, but these questions are really fair, and I think they'll follow him for the rest of his career until he plays for another team, or if the 49ers lose like everybody. So, Brock Purdy, what's going to happen with them? These next 2 games potentially are going to be really interesting. If he comes out and he flops against the Lions, honestly, if I was John Lynch, because like this window for the 49ers has been crazy. Like, they got to win this year because the guys on offense, the guys on defense, they're getting older. So it's a win now and next year, and that's probably it for them. So if Brock Purdy comes and flops against the Lions, they got to add somebody straight up. They got to add somebody, and it's got to be a veteran, and they got to do it quick. But if he comes out, wins against the Lions, who knows what will happen against the Ravens. Obviously, he's going to be highly motivated to go against them, but we will see what happens. I'm rooting for him. I like Purdy, but I don't trust him. And I think he is a bit suspect as a whole, because again, I don't believe he would go to like an average team and be completely competent week in and week out. But very exciting times right now, and I'm looking forward to it. Niners fans, NFL fans, Purdy fans, what do you think? Is Purdy a system QB? Is he a fraud? Is he solid? Is he a future Hall of Famer? Let me know. That's all I got. Peace.